Hello friends. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. So as y'all have seen or have heard me speak about my previous videos, I have very interesting pets. Not only do I have my dogs and my cats and my snake Sobek, I also have tarantulas. Now, when I was a little girl, I had always found snakes and spiders very fascinating. And I've always wanted them as pets, let's just say that, since I was little. Now, when I became an adult, I got my first few tarantulas when I was probably mid-20s, late 20s. It was the year 2022, the summer of 2022, when I got my first tarantulas. Now, I had 5 to start with. However, 3 of them did unfortunately pass away. Now, that can be to a variety of reasons, which we will talk about here in a little bit. But I have 3 now. I did have 2 for the longest time, and then I finally got my third one here maybe a few weeks ago. Now, this one is not near the 2 that I have currently. Its enclosure is parked over here while my other spiders are up on my other dresser, far away from each other, because there needs to be a period of quarantine when you bring in new species of tarantulas. And this is the same for you know, other animals, like other reptiles, other amphibians, other insect varieties, arachnid varieties, that sort of thing. Species, I shouldn't say varieties, that's more plant talk than animal talk. So I have my little booklet here that I've written down a bunch of information for y'all, and especially information about my current spiders. Now, tarantulas are a part of the grouping called Tarantulas. I think that's how it's pronounced. But typically their lifespan is about 20-30 years for females. I would say maybe 5, max 10 years for males. Males don't live very long. They're basically, what they do is they become an adult male, and then they mate with a female, and then they die. In captivity, they tend to die a little bit less frequently, but they don't last long very much after having mated with a female, as far as I'm aware. Now, that information might not be correct, so if any tarantula experts find this video, please let me know if I'm right or wrong in any form, because I am still new to this hobby. With that being said, males, when they mate with the female in the wild, tend to be eaten by said female because of the nutrients that it provides the female, so then she can lay an egg sac. Because I don't think she eats at all after she lays one and like waits for it to hatch, for the babies to emerge. Now, when it comes to tarantulas, we can talk about several different things. We can talk about, you know, let's just talk about the beginning when tarantulas are babies. Let's start there. So, baby tarantulas are known as slings or spiderlings, and they can range between a ½ inch to an inch in length, and their legs are very much larger than their bodies. So you know how like puppies have like very big paws? They also have very big paws. It's very funny looking at them. And that depends on the species. So they're very, very tiny. I can throw up some photos of my 2 tarantulas when they were babies, what they looked like, and they don't look very striking, and that is on purpose. Because they're so small most of them will not reach adulthood due to environmental factors and due to predators. So they have to be able to blend in with their surroundings. So their adult markings don't come in until much later. Now, different species grow at different lengths. So some may take a very short time to grow into maturity, and then others take years to grow into maturity. Let's see, one female tarantula can lay about hundreds to even thousands of eggs in one egg sac. Now, I have heard of females eating their own egg sac, and I don't know exactly the reason for that, unless somehow the spider knows that the egg sac is not viable, or if there's some sort of nutritional deficiency within the animal itself where she feels the need to eat her own egg sac. I've seen that happen in some videos that I've watched here on YouTube, for example, or on social media. Baby spiders tend to be more skittish and exhibit more defensive behaviors, such as running away, hiding, that sort of thing. They will not defend themselves in the way you would think an adult would, because they need to survive their environment until they are an adult. So that means that they would rather hide or run than face a predator, for example. So they tend to hide a lot. So if you have a brand new spiderling in a little sling habitat, do not be surprised if you don't see it, like, at all, because they will do that. They have to find their own food immediately after hatching. They have to care for themselves immediately after hatching, because literally the mother, all she does is she mates with the male, she makes the egg, she lays the egg sac, protects the egg sac, babies hatch, emerge. She's pretty much done her job at that point. When they first emerge from the egg, they're called eggs with legs, and that's literally what they look like. I can pop up a picture for you to look at, and also we can include a picture of an egg sac. Let's talk about New World versus Old World species. It is exactly how it sounds. Old World, east. New World, west. So the Old World species are located in the wild. They're located in Africa, Asia, parts of Europe, but mostly south. Tarantulas like warmer climates. They don't like cold at all. So they will not be living in the northern parts of the hemisphere. So another unique difference between Old World and New World species is Old World species tend to be more aggressive. So they are faster, for one, and two, they are more likely to bite, and they're more likely to bite, basically. Yeah, they're more aggressive, and they're also faster. New World species, they're not as aggressive, they're more docile, they're easier to care for in captivity, in my opinion. So beginner species for someone who's new to the hobby and keeping these animals is to go for New World species first, and then eventually move on to caring for Old World as you gain more experience. Now, me personally, I probably will not go towards owning Old World species, but you never know. Time passes, things change. The other thing that New World species do not, how do I say this? New World species have what's called urticating hairs. So they have hair on their butt, is what an easier description for y'all, but their abdomen. And what they do is when they're threatened, they will use their back legs to kick the hair off their abdomen, off their butt, into the air or at whatever predator is threatening them. And what that'll do, they're irritating very itchy, and especially the larger species, like bird-eating tarantula species, tend to cause more allergic reactions with their urticating hairs. They're more irritating, but that's just because they're a larger species. Now, those hairs will not grow back after they've kicked them off. And that is what they're bald spots, patches on their butt. And they will not come back until after they've molted. Now, venom, old world species have more potent venom that can cause more severe reactions. I would say more allergic reactions. I don't know if there's any situation, I'll have to look up on the internet, but if anyone knows of a situation where someone's been bitten by an old world species and it's caused tissue damage, I would like to know. That way I have a little bit more information. New world species, their venom is not as potent, and it's more comparative to a bee sting. Now, larger species, it'll hurt more because the fangs are bigger. And then the difference of hair. The New World species are more fluffy than Old World species. Kind of going back here on my list of things, we can talk about molting. We can talk about molting real quick. So molting is the periodic shedding of the exoskeleton. Exo meaning outside. Their skeletal structure is on the outside of their body, while most mammals and a lot of other species of animals have internal skeletons. Just skeletons. They also, when they molt, will replace internal organs. For example, females, their female genitalia, stomach lining, and sometimes their sometimes lost limbs. So if a tarantula loses a leg, they will regenerate over a series of molts. That's kind of cool. Tarantulas are nocturnal predators, so you will not see them out during the day. Now in captivity, that can be a little bit different. My spiders tend to be out most of the time, but they are in areas where the sun isn't as bright. But they are nocturnal, and their main prey is insects, of course, but they can also target larger prey, including frogs, toads, and mice, depending on the size of the animal. Bird-eating tarantulas especially, as the name suggests, prey on small birds, and they also in captivity will eat small rodents and toads. How they eat their prey item. Tarantulas are not the same as other predators like a snake would be, where snakes use a different form of heat sensing, and like their eyesight uses different forms of color. I don't know what I'm talking about here really. So they essentially, their eyes are pretty much useless in getting around and like hunting prey. They don't really hunt. They're more of a sit and wait, opportunistic hunter. Now if the prey gets too close, they will grab them with their front legs and drag them up to their fangs and bite them with their fangs, injecting venom, which then will kill the insect, animal, or animal, depending on what it's caught, and then it will eat it from there. Now, I want to say they have teeth, but I'll have to check on that, because they don't just eat through their fangs. They actually have a mouth that they eat through, but I'm not sure about the teeth thing. I think they do. They grab their prey with their appendages, inject a paralyzing venom, which will dispatch the prey item, and then they secrete digestive enzymes to liquefy the prey's body, and that is how they eat their prey.
Good soup.
And majority of species are found in South America, as we've discussed. My camera is dying. There are 987 species across the 147 genera. I don't know what the hell I was. Oh, genera. Like underneath the Pterophossidae. That's a lot of that's a lot of spiders. And then the hair on their body isn't actually hair at all. It's called arthropod setae, which consists largely of chitin, which I'll have to look up what that is exactly, compound wise. Oh, here's a fun fact. Goliath bird eater, widely considered the largest, 11 inches in diameter. Despite the name, it rarely eats birds. Interesting. I do want a Goliath bird eater at some point. And then we can go ahead and talk about anatomy once I've changed this battery. All right, friends. Let's go ahead and talk about tarantula anatomy here. So this is one of my tarantula's molts. This is the latest molt, and you can see I've confirmed that it's a he. You can see that his colors, this is a Mexican red knee, and we'll get into the different species that I have here in a little bit, but you can see the orange on the knee areas, or the joints, and that's where they get their name from, is that vibrant orange color. Now this is a little bit more muted because this is his molt. So this is the outer covering that he removed, and then he has a brand new exoskeleton. So we'll talk about this it's easier just to have a visual. So let's talk about tarantula anatomy. We'll start with the episthossoma, which is the back part, which is this part right here, aka the abdomen, aka the butt area. It is the rear section of their body. Has 2 pairs of book lungs, which these little white dots here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. One of the book lungs actually fell off, but are called book lungs. So that is where they take in oxygen and do the gas exchange for their body. So humans and other animals have what we call lungs. Hopefully you all know that. I would assume you do. We have lungs, and then they have these. Now, they don't function the same as lungs usually do. So they are ventilated leaf-like lungs where air is circulated. Now, also in their abdomen, their opisthossoma also contains their heart, reproductive organs, and the midgut, including their spinnerets, which are found on the exterior of the back. Now, you may not be able to see this part, but there are 2 little spinnerets here. I might be able to go in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm talking about. Right here on the back. And let it focus. Focus. You might not be able to focus. But these 2 little, this little thing where my brush is pointing at is the spinneret. So that is where they would produce their webbing from. Moving on, their prosoma, which is the front section of their body, which is also called the cephalothorax, and this little thing right here is a part of that. So this is where their eyes are, right up here, and this would sit on top of there. Now that is armor plating. It is the dorsal surface that is protected by the carapace. This is the carapace. Legs, which I have one missing because it fell off when I was removing the molt from his enclosure. Has their legs, their fangs, right up here that is contained in their chelicerae things. Has their fangs and pedipalps. These are the pedipalps. They function like arms. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 legs on each side, their fangs, and then their pedipalps. And then their carapace. This internally, so all contained in this part, contains their brain, a network of muscles responsible for much of their movement, and then their digestive organs and venom glands. Now, you may not be able to see this part because this is a part that's not very notable, I guess, from their molt. The pedicel is an hourglass-shaped tube that connects the primary body sections and contains many nerves and blood vessels. So it's somewhere in between here. So this part has an hourglass-shaped tube that connects the thorax, the cephalothorax, with the opisthothoma, or their abdomen. The carapace, right here, is a very hard shield-like plate, and that houses their eyes and fovea. I'm not sure what the fovea is, but I know this contains their eyes. They have, I want to say, 8 total. And you may not be able to see, but when they do shed their carapace, they have little, I want to say that they have eye caps, because the part where their eyes are is clear when this comes off. So you might need that little white area, that is a clear area. That's where their eyes are. And that's highlighted very well because of the paper towel, thankfully. The fovea is a dimple on the dorsal surface of the prosoma. Many muscles are fixed to this, including the stomach muscles. So a dimple on the dorsal surface. Now I'm wondering if that's what this is. Now my tarantula anatomy is not the best. I'm guessing that's what this is. Because the other part, if I flip over the carapace, is this little dimple right in here. I'm guessing maybe that could be it, which is connected up here, I want to say. But I'm not quite sure. Now, the ocular tubercle is a small mound on the dorsal surface of the prosoma that holds the eyes. So that could be this part right here that I'm thinking of. Let me just flip back the carapace, which the carapace is attached to the top part of the abdomen here, as you can see, this being the top part of his abdomen. Small mound on the dorsal surface of the prosoma, that's the ocular tubercle, that holds the eyes, and they usually have 8 eyes. They are ineffective for vision, but they can help them calculate distance or take in polarized light. So that is the interesting thing about tarantulas. They can't see. Let me point that out. They cannot see effectively with their eyes. The chelicerae, or the jaws, or system of mouth parts that house the venom glands and fangs that's fastened in the front of the prosoma. So these right here, these 2 parts are the chelicerae. That houses his fangs and his venom. Pedipalps, we've talked about these here a few minutes ago, are sensory appendages. These pedipalps, they have 1 claw each. Males use theirs for sperm transfer when they mate with their females. So males will put their sperm on the ends of their pedipalps, and they have these little, bulb looking things on the bottom of them. And when they push up the female, they literally have to use their legs and push her into a standing position. That will give them access with their pedipalps to inject their sperm into the slit of the female's abdomen, which is usually located down here. And that is how they impregnate the female. That's how they mate with the female. Legs. Each leg has 2 claws each on the tarsus, which is this little guy right here. We sometimes call them paws. And they all have, it's the tarsus setae, also found on the carapace and abdomen. These help them feel their environment and sense danger or prey. And they have 7 segments each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 segments. So let's just talk about how they feel their environment and sense their prey and danger. So tarantulas are unique in the fact that they can't use their eyes to see clearly. However, they can sense light, polarized light, and calculate distance. Now, how they sense prey is they will feel the vibrations of the prey as it's moving around. Now, if this was a live spider, me moving this brush like this would tell the tarantula that there is a prey item. And what they would do is this animal would turn really fast, grab said prey item with their pedipalps and their front legs, and scoop them up to their fangs. And then use their fangs to pierce their prey and inject venom that way. Now, I think as well as movement and vibration, they can also sense, what is it called? Atmospheric pressure. But mainly it's just for vibrations. Temperature, I think they can also sense temperature changes as well. Now, with the vibrations, you never want to blow on a tarantula because that's just like sending their system into like a freak out. It's like if someone were to scare you, that's basically what it does. It just startles them. But I wouldn't recommend doing that because then they would think that they're in danger, and that's just not fair. The last thing to talk about are the spinnerets, which we've already pointed out. That's that little appendage here. There's 2 of them back there. They are silk-producing structures. 2 pairs of these appendages on the butt, used for defense and shelter. When molting, they will make a silk bed, which they will then flip onto their back and then push out of their molt. Now, what comes off first is the carapace, right here, that shield armor-like structure. It'll peel backward, as well as the top part of the abdomen, and then once they have pushed through that, they will push their legs out. And if I have a video, I'll show you what that looks like, but what's left behind is a shell. So this is my spider's molt, and I'm going to flip this around gently. And this is where paintbrushes are a good way of doing this, because I don't want to break this molt, because this is the best molt he's had. You can see where the one leg fell off. But if you look closely, you'll be able to see it. But right here are the 2 fangs. And then between this, they have little teeth right down in here. And then their mouth is somewhere in there too. But I've never actually seen their teeth because they're very small. And they, of course, when they, after the animal's dead, they inject this liquefying agent, chemical thing that'll liquefy the insides, and then they will tear up the prey with their teeth and then swallow the liquefied insides. And that's why you find like torn up bits of different insects that they've consumed. Now, how do I know that this is a boy? That is a good question. Remember that slit I was talking about when the male injects his sperm with his pedipalps? Now, usually after they molt, and it just depends on the size of the animal. The bigger they are, the easier they are to sex. But on females, there will be a slit right here at the top part of their abdomen. If there is no slit, then that's a boy. Now, this is not a mature male quite just yet. He still has some time to grow. But I will go ahead and grab him real quick. Not in the legitimate sense, but just bring his enclosure out and I'll show you what he looks like right now. I think he molted about a week ago. I did throw in a roach for him because I feed them dubia roaches. However, I don't think he's ready to eat yet because after they molt, they have to harden. Their exoskeleton has to harden, and their fangs are like bright white when they first molt, and those also have to harden. Otherwise, they won't be able to eat. You don't want those to break off. So they wait till they're hard enough to eat their food. Now, having a dubia roach in the enclosure with him is not going to harm him. They will not harm the tarantulas. I used to feed them crickets. I hate crickets. Crickets are known for cannibalizing each other, but they are also known for attacking spiders and other things when they're hungry. So don't trust them, will not use them, and will not feed them again. I fed them to them when they were small, but not anymore. I use dubia roaches. So let me go grab him real quick, and I'll show you what he looks like now. Oh, okay. Calm down. You're fine. All right. So remember that molt? That was his old molt. So here he is. Let me just brighten this up a little bit. Here he is. So you can see, you can't really see too much of a size difference just because of how he's sitting right now. But comparing the molt with the size of the tarantula, you can see how much bigger he's gotten. His carapace is larger, his abdomen is larger, his legs are thicker. Now over here, right here, is the webbing that he laid down, creating a web bed, as I call it, where he flipped onto his back and then pushed out of his exoskeleton, right next to his water bowl. Now, I have had him for 3 years now, and this is as far as we've gotten as far as size. Now, he still is not a mature male yet, but he will eventually get to a bigger size, and I'll just show you the journey that we've gone through, and I'll throw up a picture of what he was before when he was a little baby, and then the size that he is now. If I get pictures of him in my hand after he's hardened up a little bit more, I will. He's pretty much the only tarantula that I handle as of right now. The other one I don't really handle too much because it's a little too skittish. And I just don't want to cause it overdue stress. It can be stressful for the animal. For some reason, they don't like the texture of human skin. So, but that's him. This is Indiana. He's a Mexican red knee tarantula, aka the Brachypelma homori, which they are known for their vibrant orange and black markings. Wild populations right now are affected in Mexico mainly by habitat loss and smuggling, aka wild caught trading, which is not cool. So he is captive bred, and that's where I will only purchase a captive bred tarantula, captive bred snake, reptile, whatever, because it's wrong to take a wild animal from its home, unless there are very good reasons to do so, like rehabilitation purposes and such like that. Also, the species was made popular by the film Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. In the first scenes of the film, one of the actors' back is covered in these tarantulas, and that is how this species got popular. And they also appeared in Star Trek Next Gen. Where, I don't know, because I don't watch Star Trek, but I named him Indiana after Indiana Jones, so aka Indy. So, and he's also very funny because whenever I fill his water bowl, he tends to attack it or play with it. He plays with water, and that's a very interesting thing for a spider to do. But he's very sensitive to vibrations and such. But whenever I try to handle him, he just won't move. Like, as soon as I get him in my hand, he's just there. He won't move. Period. Very stoic. But yeah, that's my tarantula Indiana. And then we will introduce the other species that I have real quick. Alright, so next up we have my Brazilian black, aka Onyx. See how skittish this one is comparatively to the other one that's very stoic. Now, this one is also 3 years old, but you can see the size difference comparatively to Indiana. Now, Brazilian black is also, the scientific name is Grammostola pulchra. They're known for their velvety black appearance and wide leg span. They're very slow growing, and they take up to 8 years to reach maturity, and he or she is only 3. And I don't know if this is a girl or a boy. It says also they'll be up to 7 inches in diameter. Now, they are native to the grasslands of Uruguay and Brazil, and they like slightly arid environments, so slightly drier. Now, he or she does have a water bowl all the way in the corner and a hide available, but for some reason, and I had frog moss in here too, but for some reason Onyx tore it all to shreds and basically just laid it everywhere in the enclosure. And I don't know if you can see very well, and I'm going to be very careful here because I don't want to drop this on top of her, but you can see missing pieces of fur, I guess you could call it, off of their butt. But that is because either they've kicked hair off or they're going to be molting here soon, because usually they get patchy bald spots on their butt before they molt. And also you can tell if they're getting ready to molt is if their abdomen underneath the patchy bald spots start to darken. And on this kind of species it's kind of hard to tell, but on the other one that I just showed you, it's easier to tell, obviously, because of the pattern. But this is Onyx. He or she is more skittish than Indiana is, and I tend not to handle this one very often for that reason. And I think this one's also kicked hair before. Indiana's not kicked hair very often. And this one, whenever I move the enclosure, tends to panic. So I tend not to handle this one very often, or if at all. I don't even remember the last time I handled this one. So it's fine. They're fun to look at. They're fun to watch. I don't need to hold them all the time. So this is Onyx, Grammostola pulchra. Alright, so the last one we're going to talk about is this little one, which I just got. I got this one from PetSmart. Is this the best place to get a tarantula from? No, but I saw this and I needed to get him or her because my other curly hair tarantula had passed away when it was a baby, and I was very sad. So when I saw this one, I was like, and I'm sold. So this is a curly hair tarantula, also known as the Titulocotyle albopilosus. These are native to Central America, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica. Their adult size is about 5 to 6 inches in diameter, and they can be easily startled. So that's why I'm being very cognizant of where he or she is and where my body is, because I am trying not to move a whole lot because I don't want to scare this little baby. And I haven't thought of a name yet. But, so they need to be handled with care because they easily startle. Now, they are called curly-haired tarantulas because, as you can see, their hair is very long and then it curls. And they also have a golden sheen on the longer parts of the hair, which gives this unique black and gold coloring. They can live up to 8 to 10 years for the females, and males are about 4 years. So not sure if this is a boy or a girl yet, but as it molts and grows, we will have a better idea. I purchased these little mini water dishes, and this is so little. I didn't realize how small, and comparatively to the tarantula, it's hilarious. So I kept it. So this is the new spider baby. I thought about maybe calling it Arachne after the Greek woman named Arachne. I don't know if anyone knows that myth with Athena and her and the story behind that, but I thought about maybe naming it that. So we'll see. Okay, please don't crawl out. Okay. Escape. Alright, thank you for watching my little video about tarantulas and introducing my tarantulas to you. If you like the video, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. It helps the channel out. Same thing, subscribe down below. Leave a comment for me. Also, if you want notification on when I post, just go ahead and hit that notification bell. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see ya in the next one. Bye!